Welcome to Twin Peaks Unwrapped. I'm your host, Ben Durant, and beside me is...
Bryon Kozaczka. How's it going, Ben?
It's going good. How about yourself?
I'm super excited because today we're kicking off the final 5 shows of Twin Peaks Unwrapped.
Oh my gosh, it's coming to the end. 5 episodes left.
I know, I can't believe it. And this is a long time coming. Our ultimate David Lynch Madness, which you're about to see in a few minutes. This is a show that, it's kind of run the span of time for since we've been doing the podcast. And Community Rewatch, which will be coming to an end, will be part of our final 5. That's another thing we've been doing that spanned, a few years. It has spanned almost half the time we've been doing this podcast. So I mean, we're closing. We're so to say we're tying up all the loose ends, right?
As many as we can,
as many as we can.
We had the time to know that we were ending, so we have time to tie up these loose ends.
Right. So before we get into the ultimate David Lynch Madness today, we do want to thank everybody who supported us before the book came out, who supported us when the book was out, and that fateful night on Twitter where our friend Aaron and everybody else on Twitter was just like, there's 50 books left, guys. Buy it now. And by the end of the night, we were sold out.
Yeah, there was a whole group of our community just coming out and retweeting, and it was just it was so exciting to see everybody come together to support us. And it really has been that way for over the past year. That there's been people who have bought more than one copy of our book. There's people who every time we posted about it, they were retweeting it.
Yeah.
Everything that they were doing, it means so much to us that you guys supported us, and it's crazy. We were doing this. We were self-publishing this and stuff, so it's crazy things. Will this succeed? Are we gonna print these books and they're just gonna sit in Scott Ryan's house? What's gonna happen? But to have such support, it means so much to us, and we've heard such great things about how people have enjoyed the book, and it means it's just great. It's just something else.
It means the world to us.
It does.
And we do appreciate everybody who supported us by listening to the show, by retweeting a tweet, by liking us on Facebook, and then purchasing the book. And the great news is, if you haven't heard yet, Scott Ryan, he's like, well, guys, your book has been a major hit for Blue Rose Magazine, because that's our publisher. It doesn't, and he was just like, I would like this to continue if I can make it happen feasibly. And we said, well, what do you have in mind?
I'm not putting any more money into this. No,
yeah, we can't put money into this, Scott. So what's your plan? And he came back to us in that Amazon is doing a thing called print a book on demand. So when you order a book on Amazon, they print it magically somehow, and it will be delivered to your house. And the great thing about this thing is now you can order our book all around the globe, and you'll get better pricing on shipping because you're doing it through Amazon. And I think the win-win that our book can continue for the folks who are just getting into our show now and didn't even know we had a book. So the book can continue on demand for folks. You'll still get a quality physical copy of the book, and it'll be cheaper shipping, which is fantastic.
And Amazon will take more of a cut. They'll make more money off the book, but it isn't about the money for us. I mean, we thought we were done. We thought that was it. But then to hear hey, those people who've reached out to saying it's more expensive for the shipping than it is to buy the book. Those people, I'm so happy that they'll have access to this and be able to get the book in whatever country they're in.
Right. Also, if that physical copy ever stops, if the printing on demand thing ever were to stop, we do have a Kindle edition, which we hope will just be there forever, as long as it can be there. And if you order a Kindle version, it does have colored photos, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
and you can take it on the go.
I love digital versions of things. I mean, because I can put it on my phone, and anything I need to look up, I can just go to the Kindle app and search for what I'm looking for. So there is something. I actually had somebody who messaged me on Twitter saying, "Hey, I want to get the digital copy because I just like to have it and stuff." But I think he had already gotten the book. But yeah, there is something about having a digital copy too, where you can just about access it almost anywhere.
Right. So that's an update on our book and what's going on with that. And today we're kicking off our final 5 episodes. We're gonna be getting the last episode of Community Rewatch with John Thorne, which is kind of special for us to have John Thorne come on.
The last episode of season 2. It's a big one.
It's a big one, and I mean, I can't stress this enough. It's going to be a very special episode for us. So I hope everybody tunes in for that one. And then we're going to be doing our final 2 episodes, which will be just Ben and myself, which is something we haven't done in a long time.
Yep.
Our final 2 episodes will just be us. And I want to keep those under wraps. You'll just have to tune in and listen to hear what we're going to do there. So, Ben, is there anything else we need to say before we get ready for the show?
Can I spoil which Lynch thing won?
No, you cannot. It hasn't happened yet. You cannot spoil it because technically it hasn't happened yet.
I think did I pay everybody off? Did I pay the right people off for what happened?
Yeah. So it's only a few minutes left, so everybody buckle in and enjoy the show. And we'll be back in a week or 2 with our final 4. This is pretty cool. So we'll see everybody in a few minutes for the ultimate David Lynch Madness. Welcome to the ultimate David Lynch Madness, where we'll be determining the best visual work of art by David Lynch, according, obviously, to us. Today's show is sponsored by BlueRoseMag.com, where you can get your copy of Conversations with Mark Frost, the latest issues of Blue Rose Mag, Laura's Ghost, Women Speak About Twin Peaks, The Woman of David Lynch, a collection of essays, and our very own and almost sold-out book, Twin Peaks Unwrapped the book. You can get all that on physical or Kindle versions, so please go to BlueRoseMag.com today. Before I introduce today's panel, I would like to recap all the past winners real quickly. Our first show was Lynch Madness, and that went to Lost Highway.
Lost Highway.
I told you I was here.
How'd you do that? Ask me.
Season 1 of Twin Peaks went to episode 2, Zen, or the Skill to Catch a Killer. Season 2 went to episode 22, Beyond Life and Death.
Would you like some coffee?
And season 3 went to part 18.
I'm Special Agent Dale Cooper. Is Sarah Palmer here?
Who?
Today's panel will consist of all the folks we've had on previous Madness episodes. Because of everyone's schedule, sadly, we couldn't get everyone back. So our friend Francine and Sam Wint will not be with us today. We both miss you guys, and stay safe and stay healthy. And hopefully we'll have you on the show before we end at the end of June. We also had another scheduling conflict with Maya. but she had a great idea about sending us a video. So today's show, Maya will be part of the show, but video form. And so now on to our panelists. On today's panel, we have one of the coolest cats in the Twin Peaks community. He can currently be heard on In Our House Now with his co-host John Thorne. And you can get his latest book, A Skeleton Key to the Twin Peaks, at jbmittenwriter.com. Welcome, Mr. Joshua Mitten.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
The other half of In Our House Now, currently in its second season, the godfather of Twin Peaks, I had to say it one last time, Mr. John Thorne. Welcome, John.
Good to be here. Thanks, guys.
And our next panelist is Maya McBair. You can find her work at Twin Peaks Fanatic, blogspot.com. She'll be communicating with us through the power of video.
You guys have so much to be proud of with your show, with your book, with all your friends, and with the indelible mark that you have left on the community. You have certainly made these years, and my involvement anyway, a lot more fun. And I appreciate all your support, and in particular, I want you to know that it really touched me, and I will never forget your kindness towards me when my dog was sick last year. That meant a lot to me, and I'm not going to forget it. So good luck, guys. Hope to see you again, and let's see who the winner is.
All right, that was from our friend Maya. Thank you so much. And the next guy needs no introduction because he has been on this madness journey since the very beginning. You can check out his latest videos on Twin Peaks and other television shows and support him on his Patreon at lostinthemovies.com, Mr. Joel Bacco.
Hello, everybody. Hey, Joel.
And finally, the man that brought us all together 6 years ago with this crazy idea of doing a podcast about Twin Peaks. One of the coolest guys I know, my co-host, Mr. Ben Durant.
Thanks for having me on again. I really appreciate you bringing me on, even though people might know where my interest on the shows and movies of David Lynch. Thank you for inviting me again.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, Ben. I'm glad you can make it. You almost didn't make it today, so.
I don't know if I got the invite. I
know. I got lost
everybody else
in the mail.
gets invites. I go to my personal email and there was no invite to this, and like
it got lost in the mail.
I think you were secretly thinking of doing this without me.
Yeah, that's what it was. I think. Oh God! All right. Before we get started, I like to tell the audience how today's show will work. Each side is organized according to an episode's rating. Higher rated episodes are matched against the lower rated episodes. The rating comes from IMDb's user rating system, just so everybody knows where I'm getting it from. And there won't be a tiebreaker because that can't happen now. Originally, there could have been. And also, everyone will be allowed to talk about the episode, even if we have the winner by mid-round. So everybody will get to speak. I know we do that every time, but I just want to make that clear. And I guess now we're going on to round one. Gentlemen, you guys ready?
We are.
Ready.
All right. So round one, we have Lost Highway, which has got a 7.6 rating up against Season 1, Episode 2, Zen, or The Skill to Catch a Killer, which got a 9.0 on IMDb. So we're going to start off with Maya on this one.
Okay, so round one, Lost Highway versus Season 1, Episode 2. To me, this is Episode 3, really, because I've always looked at it as the pilot, Episode 1, 2, 3. My binging started on those VHS sets from years ago, so that's always how I remembered Twin Peaks. But with that being said, despite how much I love this episode, despite how great it is when Ben eats the sandwich and the dream sequence and a million other wonderful things, I don't think it compares to the totality of a Lynch film. And Lost Highway has been a film I have really come to appreciate in recent years. Seeing it as an adult versus when I first saw it as a teenager, I really think it is a brilliant film. So, round one, Lost Highway.
shots are fired. Lost Highway. Next, we are going to go to John.
Okay, well, so I've got to say up front, it's been a while since I've seen Lost Highway. I've seen it, many times, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. And while I love Lost Highway, and I think it's a great film, it wouldn't, there would be other films I think that might be more competitive with this particular episode of Twin Peaks. So this episode, for me, is the episode that just, set my socks on fire, I guess. And, this was the one that made Twin Peaks something more than a television show. And so for me, it's got to be this episode 2. It's just a brilliant piece of work. It is essentially the epitome, I guess, of Twin Peaks. It's everything. Everything is there. And so I'm going to pick the episode.
See, that perfect. I love it. I love it already. So, Ben, you're next. I already,
This feels like deja vu, possibly. Yeah, I got to go with Lost Highway. I mean, that is the film for me. I mean, I think it's brilliant. It's a masterpiece of Lynch. I feel like it has all the elements of Lynch that he does, even with Twin Peaks, this duality, the mystery, the supernatural elements. There's just so much there that I appreciate in his other work, but I feel like it's perfect in Lost Highway. And that soundtrack, the acting, I mean, it's only taken years later to realize that Lynch has really forced those actors to slow down and force them to act almost very just slow and monotone, but that's what Lynch's style is. And I don't know, to me, it's a perfect film. So I would have to go with, saying all that, I love episode 2, and I feel the same way that I was hooked into Twin Peaks with episode 2. I mean, John has talked about how he literally fell off the couch seeing that scene, and I feel that feeling too, that it was just brilliant, and it carried me through the whole series, is that moment of the Red Room. But I don't remember the other scenes as well. I mean, there were still great things with the dinner table at the beginning, and there's great elements. I guess, is it the rock and throwing? I think is in the same episode. There are great moments, but for me, Lost Highway, that every single scene and every music, everything is perfect. So if I give the 2, I guess I'm going to have to give it to Lost Highway.
All right. I love this. All right. We're going to go to Josh.
Okay, so Lost Highway is absolutely a brilliant film. There's no doubt about it. This is the first time, I think, where Lynch was able to explore this concept of someone being in a physical way someone else, like this idea of identity is being transferred between two bodies, and that experience, and how does that transfer over. I think that was a really interesting exploration, but it's not a full story to me. So a full story is what we get in episode 2, Zenner, the Skill to Catch a Killer. That's where we broke the cop procedural as television, as John said. That birth of the Red Room is this psychic space for a hero to be tested in a way that we've never seen before on TV. It changed everything about what we expected from television from that point on. The mythic terror of Bob was introduced in a way that, how in the heck are they going to wrap this up? I feel like, that's the moment where Cooper starts chasing shadows into the night. And this idea of the first time that it's been said that Laura is filled with secrets is the beginning of an adventure that ends up with Laura as the one. And so for me, the clear choice is season 1, episode 2 of Twin Peaks. It's the superior.
Oh, man. All right. So Josh goes to episode 2, season 1. We are tied. This is what I was kind of hoping for the first round, to be honest with you. Joel, bring it home, Joel.
All right. So episode 2 is, like both of you have said, the one that made me fall in love with Twin Peaks. When I was watching it originally, I was watching, I think there was no pilot disc, so I just saw episode 1, and I was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to be into the show. And then that episode, from the first moment with the horns at the dinner table, eating the brie and the bread, like I knew this was going to be something special, and then that ending just blew me away. and I actually stopped watching, waited a couple of years till the gold box came out so I could see the whole thing. Now, on the other hand, we have Lost Highway, which I did not vote for in a single round in Lynch Madness, even though I like that film a lot. There was just at every turn, there was another film. I think it beat Firewalk with Me at one point, right? Wasn't that what knocked Firewalk with Me out? And then Mulholland Drive, even The Straight Story, I was kind of gunning for the Straight Story. So I don't think it was even in the first round because it was highly ranked enough. So I never voted for that, even though I kept wanting to. So now I'm going to surprise everyone and vote for Lost Highway.
Whoa!
Round because I love that film, and with the competition that with this up against this particular entry, I mean, I am a film guy above all, so it gets a little edge for the film. It gets a big edge for Mary Sweeney. I just think her editing of this film is just amazing. So now that it's not up against another film that she cut, that kind of gives it a little push as well. I saw this on the big screen years ago at Lincoln Center. I was just totally captivated in that setting. I mean, it's such a hypnotic film, and there's so many cool elements to it. So I will push Lost Highway forward for the first time.
Wow.
I did not see that coming. I did not see that at all.
I didn't either. I really thought Lost Highway was done.
I know, right?
I like that.
Wow. All right. So Lost Highway moves on to be part of the final two. Who will be the next part of that two? Well, we'll find out right now. We have Season 3, Part 18, which got an 8.8 rating, up against Season 2, Episode 22, Beyond Life and Death, which got a 9.3 rating. And we're going to start off where we left off. Joel, we're starting with you on this round.
I think if we had gone with Part 8 for Season 3, this would be a closer call for me. Part 8, I think, has a genuine case to be made as the best episode of Twin Peaks, period. But we did not. That got knocked out by like something really random. I can't even remember what now. It was like Part 14 or something, maybe.
I think it was 15. Yeah, I think it was 15.
It's 50, which I'm not even that. I mean, it's all right, but that's not. I wouldn't even put that in my top 5. So you guys made your decision, and now you will pay the. Well, I don't know if you'll pay the price because I probably won't be a breaker on this. But no, I would go with the Season 2 finale over the Season 3 finale. I think as finales go, again, here we get to this point where, of course, we're just having fun with this. It's silly to make this too declarative. But I will say this. I think, for me, Season 3 is stunning television. It's a wonderful addition to Lynch. As far as what it brings to Twin Peaks, I'm still kind of figuring that out. And there's times where I feel like it's sort of an add-on. Like it's something new and interesting. And I think the one part of it, and this is a big part of Part 18, so that helps it. The one part of it that really feels like we're getting something wholly new and necessary is the Diane stuff to me. That's something really fresh that we don't get in the rest of Twin Peaks. Otherwise, I sometimes feel like it's more of like a running commentary on the show and the film in an interesting way, which I'm glad we have. But the Season 2 finale, on the other hand, that makes post-mystery Twin Peaks. I think without that episode, you'd look back, you'd be like, there's some interesting stuff in the back half of the second season, but it could have just ended even with, I mean, certainly with the discovery of Lieberman, maybe even with just the killer's reveal, and with Cooper staring up at the curtains at the roadhouse, and that's the end. But because they take it to where Lynch takes it in the Season 2 finale, it opens up a lot in the film itself, even in a way. It proactively opens up so much in Season 2, it opens up Season 3. So to me, that's a really necessary part of Twin Peaks, whereas Part 18 is almost like a fascinating postscript commentary on Twin Peaks and what you get when you come back to Twin Peaks, even after it's kind of done in a way, if that makes sense. So I do like Part 18 a lot, and certainly viscerally, emotionally, I think I get more wrapped up in the Season 2 finale in a lot of ways. But I could even see it changing as I revisit Part 18 and see it more as an equal, but I don't think I'll ever see it as like strongly superior. So episode 29 it is for me.
Nice. All right. So we're gonna go to Josh.
This is a real tough one. It's very interesting that these two episodes are pitted against one another. I feel like episode 22 is just this revelation of a sublime, monstrous vision, and it's as heartbreaking as Empire Strikes Back. It's almost like, imagine Star Wars if they just would have stopped at Empire Strikes Back for 20, 30 years, and that's what you were left with. Whereas, part 18 is the closing of that story. It's indeed, John and I have talked about this a lot on our show, the shedding, this idea of the journey. If you just look at part 18 as a journey from the beginning to the end, the tale that is told there is wider than Lord of the Rings. I mean, it is insane, the distance that these characters travel, and by characters I mean Cooper and the people that surround him, and Cooper himself travels to the end of that. And I feel like for his entire artistic career, David Lynch has been telling some form of the story of the monstrosity of being abstracted away from other people, of being caught in an isolated bubble, and then what is that experience of redemption like as you float back to the center. And I feel like in no other 1 hour or single framework of anything he's ever done has he ever been able to so effectively tell that story as he did in part 18 of season 3. And I think it's the superior product.
So part 18?
Part 18.
All right. Man, I'm loving this. So for the next one, we're going to go to Maya.
Okay, round 2 will be season 3 finale versus season 2 finale. Again, season 2 being called Beyond Life and Death. I know this is episode 29, but I just want to say I am not one of those old school Twin Peaks fans who is stuck in the past. I think there's a lot of season 3 that was completely brilliant and in some ways probably better than the original. But other ways, there was something for me a little bit that was missing, and I think it was a little bit of the soul and heart and emotional connection. But that's just my opinion. So for me, I'm going to say the season 2 finale definitely kills it. And I think of all the episodes of Twin Peaks, the pilot, when Maddie gets killed, the season 2 finale, and I would say episode 3 and 8 of season 3 are my personal favorites. So for this particular round, I'm going to say season 2 finale, hands down.
Thank you, Maya. And then we're going to go to Ben.
All right.
Deciding vote, right? Or no?
No, we got John too. John.
Yeah.
But what
Ben
do we
can tie it. Ben can tie it.
Finish it now too.
Or finish it.
Or finish it.
But John will still get to talk, so it's okay.
I'll start with
You could stop me from talking.
I guess I'll start with part 18. I think in some ways part 18 reminds me a lot of Lost Highway, especially the idea that Cooper and Carrie are down that road and that mystery of it. And then, Cooper kind of becomes somebody else, kind of like Fred Madison becomes somebody else in some ways. So there's definitely some elements that I appreciate of Lost Highway. But there's something to be said about what I call episode 29. And I think Maya hits it on the head there with the idea of that soul. I mean, there's that feeling of what I consider to be Twin Peaks. I mean, the characters that I know and love, the music, and oh my gosh, that music when you actually physically go into the red room and you're actually there. We had Cooper's dream, but now you're actually part of it, and you have the sycamore trees, and it's just that, I don't know, that is just an amazing moment, and I just love that episode, and so it's got to be episode 29 for me. It just is, the heart of Twin Peaks is the best episode, or one of the best I can think of, really. So I think I'm going there.
All right, so episode 22, 29, what have you. We'll be moving on, but John, give us your thoughts, and what would you have voted for?
Yeah, I would say that this bracket is the toughest one of the entire show for me, no matter what happens after this, too. Because both these finales are, I mean, they're brilliant. And I agree with a lot of what Josh says about part 18. I think part 18 is a crucial piece of the story. I mean, obviously it's the last piece, and I would argue, I certainly could be proved wrong, that that's the last we'll ever see of Twin Peaks is part 18. To be honest with you, these are essentially tied in my head, but if I had to pick one, and I'm sorry, Josh, I'm going to pick the season 20, episode 29, season 2 finale. I think what happens to Cooper in that episode is stays with him all the way through to part 18. I'm not sure Cooper, I have to be careful how I say this because I have to really think about it, and I don't have time to really get into the details, but I'm not sure Cooper ever progresses much past part 29, episode 29. I think that something significant happens to him. He doesn't even realize it. The deeper subconscious of Cooper is revealed that he is a very flawed character and has been lying to himself for much of the story. That doesn't become clear really until we get into season 3. But the kernel of season 3 essentially comes from that episode. And I'm not sure that even by part 18, Cooper has figured himself out. And so he's still a static character it's very complicated. Cooper's a very complicated character. But I think if you had to point to the part where Cooper comes face to face with his flaws, it's in episode 29. That outside of the character, I think that's crucial. That's a really important point. That episode, the brilliance of that episode is that Lynch, unlike part 18, which this may actually be a counter argument, but Lynch essentially made that episode up as he went. And, I'm sure he had a weekend to sit down and figure it all out. He mapped it out. He knew what he needed to do. It wasn't like he was totally lost when he was making it. He knew when he started where he was going, but he really had to, essentially reformat Twin Peaks, I think. And he wanted to restore some of what he thought Twin Peaks was. And, that last 20 minutes is so brilliant. And what he did there is just brilliant. And so I'm always in awe of that episode. So that's why I would have picked it and do pick it.
Wow. All right. So Josh was the only one for,
I knew it was a losing battle. But I had to fight it.
You know what would have been fun, I almost regret not doing it, is pretending that I thought we were talking about episode 18, Masked Ball. And I'm making a case for that over episode 29, but I missed the opportunity.
I'm in the Black Lodge with Cooper.
All right, so we're going into our final round. Lost Highway up against season 2, episode 22/29. This is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a real tough one. We're going to start off the way we ended last round with John.
Oh, okay. Well, God, I just babbled on for a while there. I'm going to say the same thing. Look, episode 29 is, it's for me, it's an amazing piece of television. And I think, it's one of those things that lived in my mind for 25 years. I mean, just like Cooper was held in stasis for 25 years, the show was held in stasis for 25 years. For me, that was Twin Peaks for 25 years. Yes, we had Firewalk with Me, and we had other little things like the Log Lady introductions. But that's where the story ended. And it is resonant still in me. Even as I write about season 3, you can't forget that episode. Lost Highway is, again, it's a great Lynch film. I love Lost Highway. But, there are Lynch films I like better than Lost Highway. I can name 3, maybe 4 very quickly that I think are better films or did speak to me. So, to pick between the two, I'm clearly going to pick episode 29.
All right. Thank you, John. We're going to go to Ben. What could Ben be picking?
All right, yeah, between Lost Highway, my favorite David Lynch film, and the last episode of the second season of Twin Peaks. Well, I will say that, you know, I learned about David Lynch through Twin Peaks. Like, I was 15 years old when I first watched Twin Peaks, and I'd never heard of him. I didn't know any of his work. And so I learned about his films through Twin Peaks. And I think, you know, I still love Twin Peaks the best. I love the characters. I love the music. I love the whole thing. And Lynch is at his best when he has everybody working together with him to make this masterpiece that is Twin Peaks. So I will have to go with 29. I will have to go with Twin Peaks.
Wow.
As much as I like Lost Highways, it also is the characters. I mean, Fred Madison isn't the greatest character. You know, I mean, they aren't the greatest. I mean, a lot of times, I don't know. Cooper is just an amazing character. I mean, there's just some really people that you kind of fall in love with you, and you kind of go on this journey together. And so, yeah, it's got to be Twin Peaks for me.
Wow. All right. So from there, I did not see that coming. So we're going to go to Josh.
So this is going to be a purely emotional call for me. I came to David Lynch through the music. So I was a huge Trent Reznor fan, and Lost Highway soundtrack. I heard he did something on it, and it was a song I hadn't heard, and I bought the soundtrack, and that led me to the film. And as I look back on watching the film recently compared to when I first watched it back in the 90s, it hasn't really changed that much for me. And I know I've changed a ton since then. But when I go back and rewatch any episode of Twin Peaks now, it's different than the last time I watched it because I'm a different person. And I know I'm a different person than I was in 1997 or whenever Lost Highway first came out. So the fact that the film, technically perfect, I would argue that episode 29 or 22 is absolutely technically perfect as well. So on that footing, I think they're pretty equal pieces of art. But from an emotional experience, let's be honest, we're not all gathered here because we love Lost Highway. We're gathered here because we love Twin Peaks and because those characters have come to represent elements of ourselves that we're able to come together and share with one another. So the clear choice to me is episode 29/22 of Twin Peaks season 2.
I'll see you again in 25 years. Meanwhile.
Well, I mean, that would declare it the winner, but we still have Joel and Maya. So Joel, even though we know 29 won, what have you picked?
It takes the pressure off, but it also makes it harder in a way to choose now because it's not like it's not as pressing to choose one or the other. I almost feel like I should just punt and say both since it doesn't. But I'll give a case for both, and then I'll say if I can think of one. So on the one hand, I would say early in this conversation, especially as I was choosing, I realized on the first round it was going to be easier than I thought to pick Lost Highway. And I was starting to think, wow, I could actually see Lost Highway going all the way with it, especially because Ben and maybe even Maya might surprise us there. And I even thought Josh was going to go with it for a second when he was talking about the music. So I was thinking, would I vote for it for the final round? And I think early on in this Zoom call, I was thinking, yeah, I think I'm leaning toward Lost Highway. And it's the cinematic aspect. It's the, not the Twin Peaks, and certainly like episode 29 don't have their own, cinematic qualities to them, but just that when you shoot a film, and you see this even with Firewalk with me in the series, there's just always something slightly different there, no matter how sort of sophisticated and different in pacing and cinematography the TV show is. You always get some extra something, and you lose things too. There's a trade-off, but there's something in a film when the filmmaker stepped into that role, when they're conceiving of it, when they're executing it, the whole production process, that to me there's like a elevation to it that I find really exciting. So there's that. There is, again, the Mary Sweeney thing, just the fact that my favorite Lynch works tend to be the collaborations between them. There's something about the fluidity of the style, the way these cross dissolves, the use of the music, it's so saturated. And I think earlier and later Lynch, post and pre Sweeney, are a little drier in a way. And episode 29 is interesting because it comes, I think, within the parameters of what I would call the Sweeney years, because it's after she edited that episode of the killer's reveal for him. But it's one of the few, one of only 2 things, as far as I know, that Sweeney did not edit during those years. And both of them, interestingly, were edited by the same person, which now I'm having a brain freeze for a second. But it was the first time she worked with Lynch, actually, on Twin Peaks. Just, they had a rotation of editors, and she was never the one who, like, matched up with him. It was always, like, Jonathan Shaw, or he had brought Dwayne Dunham and Mary Sweeney in. And he never worked with Paul Trejo. Who was the other one? Why am I having it? John, can you help me out here?
If I walk that way and get my book, I can.
You said Dwayne Dunham already, didn't you?
You want me to look?
But now I can't. Maybe we'll have to cut this part out.
Yeah,
This is great.
Dwayne.
Do a TV signal. It's
Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win?
And I got another device to look up on.
Tony Morgan.
Tony Morgan. Okay, yes. All right, definitely cut some of that fat out of this. There you go. Okay, Tony Morgan. Yes, she edited this, and she also edited the Blackout sketch with Alicia Witt, which I love.
Great,
so
great stuff.
Magnificent, and they have a certain similarity to them. I feel like the lights and the darkness and the way the cutting is a little different. It's not quite as like staccato as some of like Dwayne Dunham's stuff can sometimes be, where he's more sort of by the book in a way. Sweeney's a little more dreamy. She's kind of in between in a way. She has her own style working with him, and you never know with an editor how much is just the director being in a different mood and saying do this, do that, whatever. But so that's that. So now I've gone way off on a tangent. So there's something to recommend in both of those in terms of the editing, but I do love representing the Mary Sweeney. Now, as it went along and people started giving their reasons for episode 29, I started thinking about different things. So one of the things I started thinking about is what John said, the fact that Lynch made this up as he went along. You want to just take what's on screen and just vote on that, but you can't. You have to somehow tip your hat and pay respect to the fact that this guy made a masterpiece of television off the cuff with no script, with like a loose, and I love the extent too to which he does occasionally touch base with what they wrote, particularly in the first part, but turn it into his own thing. It's just such a fascinating bravura piece of filmmaking. Lost Highway is actually, ironically, given its twists and turns, I think it's one of the most conventionally produced Lynch films of his late period, where he had a script, he followed the script, and he delivered the movie. Mulholland Drive, Fire Walk with Me, even to an extent, certainly Inland Empire. I guess Straight Story, of course, is that way as well. But for the most part, his late films do not follow that trajectory. And Twin Peaks itself didn't follow that trajectory. We're just discussing with episode 29. So I think what I'm saying is that I would go with episode 29 because of some of that off-screen stuff. And the way, you can see it expressed in the work itself. It's not just in the back of your mind as a cerebral level. Like, you're watching something that has that kind of weird, fluid spontaneity that you can almost only get crafting it that way. It's just, and finally, I have to say, we're on Twin Peaks Unwrapped. I know it's fun to bring in that, but we kind of got to go with the Twin Peaks masterpiece. I'll join the first. We'll see if Maya registers the 1 point of dissent or not. But I almost went with Lost Highway, like it was close.
So, okay, so obviously, that episode wins. We don't know what Maya has to say yet, but I think we'll make it interesting before I play that. What do we all think she will say? I think I originally thought Lost Highway. I also thought Lost Highway for Ben as well. My prediction for Maya is I feel like she's going to say episode 29. I don't know what you guys think.
I kind of do too.
Yeah.
29.
29?
Yeah. I think
she surprised herself, as I recall, by going with Lost Highway over, I think it was Firewalk with Me. Like, she thought she'd go with Firewalk. But then, on the other hand, I feel like, isn't Firewalk with Me, like, maybe her favorite piece of Twin Peaks? So, like, if she chose it over that, I don't know.
I have a question. So
just to be crazy.
I just have a quick question. If she pre-recorded all of this, how did she know that this bracket? Did she record one for every potential bracket, or?
I told her the two you pick. Like, she picked Lost Highway, and she did pick Beyond Life and Death. So I said, take your two winners and give me the one you think. Now, what we didn't know where that would land.
Mm-hmm.
So
good.
Yeah. So
wow.
The ones she did pick did win. But if she had gone the other way, this would be a lot different. She would be saying something that probably wouldn't be on the board.
Okay.
But she did pick Lost Highway and episode 29. So
this will be interesting.
Ben, what do you think? You're the only one who hasn't said it. What do you think? What do you think she's going to say?
Hard to say. I mean, I was surprised when she went Lost Highway before, and she's gone and done it again. So this would be her third time voting for Lost Highway, right? Or at least maybe.
Yeah.
I want to believe that we all love Twin Peaks. So I guess I want to believe in my gut that she's gonna say Twin Peaks.
I think so too. So let's find out. Here we go.
Okay, so we're down to the last round. So we have Lost Highway versus the season 2 finale of Twin Peaks. Ben, I love you, and I would love to say Lost Highway, but I can't. I'm sorry. I really think that for 25 years, obsessing over that cliffhanger from season 2 really left a mark on me, and the mystery of it, the intrigue, the brilliance of it, it was quite haunting. It had a real impact. So me being a Twin Peaks fanatic, self-appointed, of course. But yes, so that would make it, I think, no other choice. Season 2 finale. That's the winner.
It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Unanimous.
Board. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, I love Maya. She's so sweet.
Yeah, that was great. I'm so happy she did that. And
little did she know.
Yeah, that could have went the other way, but she was right on point with everybody. You guys, I mean, I think everybody was pretty much on point except for Josh with Part 18, but that's fine. But I mean, I think this was great. I just love the conversations are surrounded by each of these. So I thank you guys. Any final thoughts about this? Anybody?
I just want to concur with what Maya said early on and just congratulate you guys on this whole journey. I can't believe it's ending in a way, but I guess it already got extended for a year, so.
It did.
Start with another Oh, I shouldn't even joke about
it. Maybe we'll come back for season 4. Season 4.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I was on pretty early. I think it was like maybe Brad Dukes and Catherine Coulson were on right before me or something like that. Right, right at the beginning, it kind of grew out of the, you're commenting on like the Sparkwood and 21 or something. I remember first hearing about you guys on that. You were sort of taking up right where they left off. And it's just crazy what a journey it's been. I was talking with someone the other day who wrote something in 2014 about their journey with Twin Peaks. And looking back and reading it in 2021, it's like, well, now a whole other 7 years have gone by, and so much has happened in that time with Twin Peaks and outside of it that now, I don't know, it's there was a story of this show that ended, and then these years after, and then this sort of the comeback, and now there's like a tail end to that as well. And I just wonder what, if there will be, if that's it, or if there'll be another something else, if there'll be another peak at some point. I don't know. We'll see. But you guys have been great companions along this version of the journey. So,
thank
you. Joel, we've loved your work, and we were lucky to have you on. Like we were. Well, Bryon was still watching it for the first time when this is way back when you were watching it for the first time, Twin Peaks. And Joel, I just loved your analysis and how you looked at Twin Peaks and said, we have to have you on the show. And it was so cool that you would just come back during different times just to share your experience with Twin Peaks. So thank you for being on so many times.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I would echo certainly the great sentiments about what you've done here. In a time where people are coming together for all the wrong reasons, it seems like everywhere this work of art still brings us together in the best way possible. And your show has just been a monumental channel for positivity, I think. As I look around these spaces, I mean, some of the just incredible analysis, a deeply human analysis that's been done about this work of art. Just with Joel and John, alone, let alone mentioning what you guys have done with your show and your book. Wow, what a testament to something really, really good, that we can all still come together and laugh and say the same jokes and laugh about the same things over and over. Dice this and slice this up. What's better than this? I mean, it's just been such a great experience, and I'm so deeply appreciative to have been a part of it. I thank you both. Thank you all for letting me do so.
Thanks, Josh. And you guys, you and John are keeping the Twin Peaks alive with your podcast In Our House Now. And Joel, with your podcast and the work that you're continuing to do, what you've done with season 3. But you guys are the ones that are keeping it going and stuff. And I can't wait to keep listening and watching what you guys do next.
Yeah, Josh and I were on the phone yesterday talking. I think we talked for 2.5 hours or something.
Oh my God.
Well, it was a planning session. It wasn't the podcast. That's what we do. We get on. I think Josh is taking notes. I think I hear him taking notes, and he lets me just sort of brainstorm. I mean, I just babble at him. I'm amazed that he tolerates it. And we talk about Twin Peaks, and then we come up with some ideas. And so this has been a great thing to do. It's certainly helped me, to focus as I'm writing about Twin Peaks. But I want to say that, Twin Peaks Unwrapped, you guys really, I admire everything that you've done. And I've said before, I think I've told you personally that, you guys essentially took up the mantle, I think, that Wrapped in Plastic had, when we were publishing Wrapped in Plastic back in the back in the 90s and early 2000s. We came to an end point, and I always thought someone's going to come along and continue to analyze Twin Peaks, and I think you guys have done a fantastic job. You've done stuff that Craig and I had only dreamed of doing. So I think you've done a great service to the Twin Peaks community, and I would say to you, never say never about it being the end of your podcast, because you may want to come back and do something else. You may want to come back every once in a while. I will tell you, Twin Peaks never ever leaves you. Once it's in you, and you can't stop talking about it. So I expect to see you guys more in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. And just to say, John, you're right though. We're going to take a break, extended vacation, but we're going to come back for specials throughout the year and next year and so forth. So we're going to go away, but we'll pop our head out once in a while, which would be nice. Good.
And John, we're getting very close to the 30th anniversary of the episode 29, the last episode of season 2. And we'd love to have you on the show, just you, to kind of have our last community rewatch show. So we still have our actors acting out scenes, and just to cover episode 29 again. A lot of times we have a whole panel, but I think it would be nice just to have you on for that last one.
That's cool.
It would be my pleasure to do that. And as you know, I've written extensively about that. All-time winner now of David Lynch's work. So
it's official.
It's official. We've made it official.
For sure.
So I look forward to that.
Cool. Awesome. Well, before we go, I'll have everybody give everybody your information, where they can find you, buy your books and your Patreons. Joel, we'll start with you first.
So you can find me at lostinthemovies.com, and I have a podcast now that comes out every 2 weeks. Lost in the Movies on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It's usually short reviews of films. I try to keep it down to like 20, 25 minutes. Sometimes it goes a little longer, but I like the idea of a short because there's so many long, great discussion. I love those, but there's so many of them. It's nice, I think, to have some more bite-sized stuff too. And every now and then I do a Twin Peaks cinema on that, where I talk about a film in relation to Twin Peaks. And this fall, that'll become like a sort of a monthly podcast of its own. But right now it's sprinkled throughout. And on patreon.com/Lost to the Movies, I do big long podcasts that are like hours long on all different subjects. And I guess if this is coming out in May, I think that month I'll be covering the film Angel Face, which it's a film noir with interesting relations to the like Evelyn James stuff in season 2. So
nice. That's cool.
And of course, Journey Through Twin Peaks on pause. I think it's actually gonna be on a long pause and come back after I do my character series, which has been postponed for 5 years now. I think it's time to get back to that and wrap that up. And Journey Through Twin Peaks Part 6, where I go through season 3, will probably be 2022. I'm right now building a whole list of my backlog, my whole schedule of how I'm going to pursue it to actually get ahead this time and not keep falling into the quicksand as I do every time. But yes.
Nice. Thank you, Joel. John, where can people find you?
Yeah, well, you can certainly listen to the podcast I do with Josh. I'm going to let him talk more about it, but it's In Our House Now podcast, which by the time this episode of your podcast, video podcast comes out, we will probably be 2 or 3 more, I hope, along the line. We've got some good content, I think, planned. So that's a good place to find me. I'm on Twitter. I think it's at ThornWhip. My book, which I showed earlier, is 5 years old, so that's kind of cool. It still sells copies 5 years later, so I'm happy about that. And I am working on, it's right here in front of me, I mean, it's literally all of this right here, on a book on season 3. We'll see if it ever happens.
And Josh.
Incredible. Yeah. So you can find me at jbmintonwriter.com. I do have a book as well, Skeleton Key to Twin Peaks, 422 pages, designed everything from scratch, and it's all going to charity. So I've actually gathered up over $2,000 and given it away to charities in this book. So it's a very humbling and rewarding experience. Right now I'm writing a book on the British show This Is England, which was 12 and a half hours long over a few seasons. Most Americans have never heard of it, and it is a phenomenal next step to moving on past Twin Peaks. So I've retired from writing about Twin Peaks. I still do some work on podcasts, obviously, with John and with you fine gentlemen, but most of my writing will be focused on other pieces of art going forward. So follow me on Twitter at Joshua Minton if that's your place.
Nice. Well, thank you, gentlemen and lady Maya, for coming back for our final madness. If you have a comment, question, or theory, give us an email at twinpeaksunwrapped@gmail.com. We can get our book, which should be almost out right now, or you can get the Kindle version if we are sold out at bluerosemag.com. Follow us on Twitter at Twin Peaks Unwrapped. Like us on the old Facebook. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Give that 5-star review. And we'll be back in a week or 2.